Welcome back to The Business of Becoming. I am your host, Steffany. And today's topic is one that honestly I think is super relevant and especially something that I've had to deal with as a business owner, as a mom, and just as a human being individually. So today we're talking about how to protect your peace and stop feeling guilty when you try to protect your peace, whether it's from employees or whether it's from family, which is usually the first culprits, friends, whoever it is. But it's just making sure that you have the right practical tools and learn how not to feel guilty when you're trying to protect your peace. If you're anything like me, many times, especially in my early work career and the early moments that I remember even being involved, in organizations or like church, for me, that was a big thing, right? Or working for somebody, I just remember that there was never a talk about boundaries. There was never any clear understanding that that was something that was healthy. If anything, the word no was disrespectful. The word no was, oh, they're not in it, or they're not ready to go to the next level. And now as I'm older and realize that I'm in the position that many people I used to, have to follow, or many people that I looked up to, or many people that were like my guidance counselors or like my mentors at that time, whether business, professionally, or just spiritually, or just in general in life, right? And I'm Hispanic, so we come from the culture where you don't say no to anybody in your family. Like, family's everything, right? It's kind of like the Fast and the Furious. And I just now dealing with, everything I've dealt with in my life, and now coming to the place where I am an adult. I do have children. I had a marriage, and I have a business. I've realized even more so how important that word no really means to me, and how much respect, to be honest with you, I have for people who have boundaries. And I've learned the importance of setting those boundaries for myself and in my life. And I've learned from people even younger than me that have taught me the importance of that. And what do I mean? I mean, like, maybe, you got invited to a dinner, or you got invited to a networking event, or, I don't know, your friends or whatever the case may be, that they invite you to do something, and that specific thing, right, or that specific event, or that specific favor, let's just say, that they're asking you to participate in or to be involved in, it's going to drain you, and it's not going to be something that's going to elevate you or bring you peace or bring you any kind of joy, or I don't even know how else to explain it, but it's just like sometimes doing things for others, yes, it's good, and it's always noble when you can. But when you do it because you don't want to let that other person down, and you decide to let yourself down, that's where you're not protecting your peace. And that's one thing I want to make very clear today. I am not about saying no to everything and to everyone so that you can go home and, drink yourself to sleep, or so that you can go home and just not care about the world and not have any real responsibilities or relationships with people. Because in reality, we do things for others because we want to establish a deeper relationship with people, and we want to show that we're there for people. And I think that's awesome. And I think that's noble. And I think that's great. But there are times where you don't need to do that every single time, because then your relationship with them is based off of what you can do for them and how often you can show up for them, rather than the times that you can, you will, and the times that you can say no, they still respect it. For me, people pleasing was something that I didn't think I struggled with. I didn't believe I struggled with for a very long time. I thought that I was, always been super independent, that I always had my head on the right, shoulders, and, I was successful very young. I was in business very young. So I didn't think I had a people pleasing identity, I guess you can say, until I just remember every time it was a struggle for me to say no. And every time I did, I learned later that it was because I was more afraid of the rejection. If I said no, I was more afraid of the conflict or the confrontation that would happen if I had said no. And I would say yes, not because I even wanted to do it, but I would say yes because I didn't want to be rejected, and I did not want to deal with that kind of conflict. And that is not healthy. That is absolutely the wrong way to go about building your life and building your confidence and protecting your peace. Saying yes is unsustainable in any relationship. It is turning relationships into, instead of genuine connection, into chores, into people pleasing. And what happens when you don't learn how to say no to certain things is that you end up in this vicious cycle, and you are actually kind of like eroding the relationship that you have with that person from the inside out. Because you're not really genuine. You're not really trying to be genuine. And you're not showing your true colors of, look, this is just a little bit too much for me in this moment. And I genuinely can't. I would love to be there, but I can't. And if you're afraid to say that, then we got to dive into how to protect your peace so that this doesn't happen to you. Because if you try to look at the relationships you have now, and hopefully this episode is something that is eye-opening for us, because it's going to teach us how to pinpoint the relationships that we have and learn how to start with practical tools how to protect your peace. All right, so we're going to go into the first one, which I'm going to call these permission slips. Okay, if you were in school just like me, you knew that I had 1,000 permission slips to do everything because your girl did not like school. So this is permission slip number 1. And the first permission slip that I would give you is you are allowed to be clear, and sometimes it's not nice. Why? Because when you say no, it's not that you're trying to be a cold, indifferent human being. You are trying to be clear. And you have the right as an individual who makes her own money and who makes their own life to be able to have clear communication with boundaries. Now, let me give you an example of being clear, not just nice. Let's say you have this one friend, and I'm just doing it as like a personal friendship, relationship type of thing, right? Let's say you have this one friend, and this is the 4th time that you guys have tried to have lunch or go to dinner or actually spend some quality time. And at last minute, that person cancels yet again. And your automatic response, because if this has happened to you, because it's happened to me, this is you not protecting your peace. Your automatic response to them saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't make it because this happened or whatever. And your automatic response is, no, it's okay, no worries, I completely understand. You are just being nice. You are not being clear. Because the first time it happened, it's nice. Or if it's an emergency, okay, be nice. No, it's okay, don't worry, go handle that family emergency. Absolutely, totally get it. But if this is something that is habitual for this individual with you, then they're not protecting your peace and they're not prioritizing your time, as you have to block out that specific time to meet with this person. So quite honestly, you're not trying to be a cold human being, but being clear, saying, hey, whenever you actually do have the time, please let me know, because this is the 5th time that this has happened, and I really would love to meet with you, but, let's make sure this next time it doesn't happen. It's okay to be clear. There's nothing wrong with that. And I have been the person, on the other hand, that has canceled a few times on people. And let me tell you, when that person tells me, hey, this has become like the 3rd time you've done that, the next time that you want to schedule something, make sure that you don't have anything conflicting. I promise you, I gain so much respect for that person that I make sure I don't cancel on them again. And if something does come up that's not obviously a family emergency, I'm there. I will move something else to make sure that I don't cancel again. And I respect somebody who is as clear and respectful of their own time. It's important to me, because it's important to me, my time that I give to anybody outside of, my family, my kids. Like, I want to respect that, and I want people to respect that for me. Because truth be told, people are not mind readers. And as much as we want to think that people understand you and can read between the lines that you're saying, that's not true. It's just not. We're built and wired very different. And sometimes you just say no worries, like, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it. People can be like, oh, okay, like, they're not upset. That didn't bother them. They didn't have to, carve out time and cancel other plans so that they can be there for me. No, it's cool. So in reality, you're not giving that person the weight of your time. And that's on you. That's not on them. That's all on you. And it's something that, again, you have to practice and protect. And then now we go to the other extreme, which is you talking to a boundary pusher, is what I would say. And I know several of those in my life where, they ask you to go do something with them or for them or whatnot. And instead of just saying like, no, I can't, you're like, oh, it's just that I'm really swamped, or it's just that like I've had a long stay, or you start giving all of these excuses as to why you can't do this certain thing. And all a boundary pusher hears is a rebuttal to that. So if you say, oh, I can't, I'm getting out of work late. No, it's okay, no worries, we'll go later. How many times has that happened to you? To me, plenty. Oh, I can't because, I don't know, I have to go take out my dog. Oh, don't worry about it. I'll go to your house. I'll wait till you take out the dog, and then I'll go with you. That's a boundary pusher. That's somebody who's not reading between the lines because you're not being clear. What you're doing is just trying to give excuses to be out because you're afraid of confrontation, and being genuinely honest with somebody, saying, I just really don't have it in me to go. And I don't want to. Hit me up the next time, or let me know if you do this again, and I will try my best to be there at that time. Not giving them 1,000 different excuses like your goldfish died or this happened. Because guess what? Boundary pushers are going to find any which way to be like, oh, it's okay. We'll figure that out. Oh, it's okay. I'll help you. Especially boundary pushers that are problem solvers. And I know several of them. Some of them are in my bloodline. It's how we've learned how to even negotiate and sell. That's the truth. I'm not even going to front. Some of the best salesmen I've ever met in my entire life and the biggest hustlers are all boundary pushers. And it's a gift. So to protect you from them, just be clear, be direct, because there is nothing that they can say when you just say, no, it ain't going to happen this time. There's nothing they can say. They can try, but at the end of the day, you're not giving 25 different excuses. There's nothing they can say. And I want to be also, aware that there are business people and there are salespeople that are in this channel that come to seek advice. Like, if you're running a business, and I know especially in the early stages, you're willing to take every call at any time because you are customer service for your business. And I respect it. Trust me, I do. But it gets to a point when you're trying to build, stability in your life. And it comes to a point where you're trying to protect, certain time frames in your home, right? And you have that one client calling you at 9 o'clock at night that you've previously answered. And you feel like miserable, even though, yes, it's your job and you love it and you love what you do. But sometimes that is meant to stay in the office. It's meant to stay a work problem, not a at-home work problem. Because now you're not just affecting your peace, you're affecting the peace of your family and of your home. Sometimes your children need that time for bedtime or whatever the case may be. And I've dealt with several business people in my entire life. I actually have a really good friend of mine that he's, a very high-profile lawyer, and he leaves his phone in the entrance of the doorway the moment that he walks into the house. And if it's an extreme emergency, he has a house phone. And very, very few people have that number, which to have a house phone at, the day and age that we're at, I think it's super cool. I think you're super trendy, awesome. But I found that amazing. I found that tool so impressive because of the success that he's built to still be able to disconnect the moment you walk in through the door. It's something that I want to achieve in my life. And yes, I've had boundaries and I've gotten second numbers so that I give it to my office staff and, for especially during hurricane season and whatnot. But there's a gift in protecting your home. And there's a gift in being able to tell that client, hey, this is not regularly the time that I take these phone calls, so I'll give you a call once, the office opens in the morning, and we'll take care of this. We'll handle it. Send me an email. Don't worry, we'll handle this. That's okay. And if a client doesn't respect that, they're not going to respect what you do for them. They're not. And I'd rather have great clients and a few of those great clients than a million of the clients that are going to rob me, not only from my peace, my joy, but my sanity. You have all the right to be direct. You have the permission to protect your soul, you know. And I want to give these like this practical tool, instead of saying, "Oh man, I'm super busy right now, I'm not sure," you can clearly say, "Hey, at this moment, I don't have the capacity to take that on. So I'm going to respectfully decline." Whether that's in business or whether that's a friend that's asking you to go out, or because sometimes, you know what? Yeah, it's Friday and we want to have a great time, or it's Saturday and, whatever. Saturdays are for the girls. I don't care. Whatever it is. But there's some times where that week really did beat you up. It really did beat you up. And that's your body signaling to you that you need rest more than you need to be entertained. And I want to say that very clearly. Sometimes your body signals to you that you need rest, whether it's mental rest or physical rest, but you need rest more than you need entertainment, more than you need to go out. You do. And instead of saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm really busy, I'm not sure." No. Hey, at this moment, I don't have the capacity to do that. I can't. I can try another time, no worries. I'll let you know if I can. But being direct. Being direct would give you respect. That's a bar, Frank. You should drop it. Bam. Being direct gives you respect. R-E-S-P-C-T. You are trying to build relationships on genuine respect. And you are not trying to build relationship on guesswork for them to guess if you can or you can't. No. So if you want to avoid feeling anxious, if you want to avoid that vicious, anxiety that comes from people pleasing and from doing things that you don't genuinely want to do, please give yourself this permission slip to learn to be a little bit more direct. And you can do that with compassion and clarity. You can absolutely do that without it being mean. And if somebody else takes it that way, that's more on them. You can be absolutely kind in your boundary. Some people might not like it, but guess what? That's on them. That's not on you. You protect your peace, because ain't nobody going to do that for you. That's a you job. And I'm not even going to lie. Like, I have been on the other end. I have been a boundary pusher for others. I've had people say, "Oh, I've had, a long week," or "I had a really early morning." And I would be like, "Oh, just come for 1 hour." And no, they didn't stay for 1 hour. Like, no. Many of my friends, they always know. They make this joke about me and my family that if you're going to go and travel with my family, if you're going to go anywhere with my family, like, make sure you pack an overnight bag. Because you just never know. Like, and it's not that we're just wild and crazy, but it's just, there's always something that we do, or there's always something that happens. And, it was a norm in my life to push boundaries and not have any. I grew up that way. I grew up with my dad waking us up at 3 a.m. and just saying, "Pack a book bag. You guys got 30 minutes to get in the car." And no, we weren't selling drugs. But like, my dad just got the urge to go to Disney, and our life was so spontaneous. It was so sporadic. And I love it, but it's not the healthiest for a lot of people. And it definitely is chaotic for many people who were raised with boundaries. We weren't. And that's why it was so difficult for me to have them. And it was very eye-opening to learn how to respect them. And that's one thing I think our generation really lacks, is putting boundaries, respecting ourselves for having boundaries, and respecting others for having boundaries, and protecting our peace. I grew up in a very chaotic home, and I love my parents. Like, I love my parents. I'm so grateful for everything that they have sacrificed and have done for us. But it was crazy and it was chaotic. And yes, it, brought up, 3 amazing women that are tough skin, and we make things happen. But, we also, and I can say this for myself, we struggled on learning different things and how to protect our peace. It was always go, 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 go. And now, me having kids, I want to protect their peace. I want to protect them from these anxieties, and I want to protect them from failures that they can make because they're in a rush. And that's all of us. If you're hearing this and you're in business, or, you're starting a family and you're or you're leading people, or you're crafting minds. Like, make sure you don't rush process or rush people away from their peace. Like, push people towards that, because people will stay with you when they feel at peace. They will stay with you when they feel like they're being heard and they're being respected, and that you respect the time that they have with their families. Because the same respect you want when you have your family and you have your time with them, you want to try and give that to others. That's the kind of culture you want to be able to cultivate everywhere that you go. Whether you're in business or you're leading this or you're leading that, or even a church or whatever it is, like, you want to have that culture. Specifically, I think, in a church, because your first ministry is your family, and I strongly believe that. First ministry is your family. So you have to protect the peace of your home before it gets overwhelmed and just controlled by anything else in this world. And if you tell me, Steffany, I need some go-to lines for this. Perfect. Hey, thanks so much for thinking of me, but this isn't going to work for me right now. Or, thank you so much for considering to invite me. However, I hope it really goes well. I can't make it. Short, sweet, polite. Or, if you want to be more professional, I'm not available for that today. However, I really do hope it goes well for you. And that's fine. I don't see anything wrong with somebody saying that this isn't working for them. I really hope that it goes well for you. Those are your easy, one-liners that you can text, email, whatever, which way you want to say it. Or say it over the phone, whatever's easier. All right, this leads me to our final permission slip, which is you are allowed to enforce your boundary. Okay? If you don't enforce your boundary and you're the type of person who sets a boundary, right, quote unquote, however, when people cross it time and time again, you let it slip and you're just like, okay, maybe this last time or maybe this one more time. And it just proves more to yourself than to anybody that not even you take it seriously. So why would anybody else take it seriously? And then going through my divorce and everything like that, like, I had to learn how to protect my peace even more, because there was days where I was grieving and I didn't want people around, but some people thought that, hey, you need people in order to get through, your grief today. And sometimes you do, not even sometimes, you do. But there's sometimes where you got to go through that process alone. You got to take those moments for what they are. So there was a point where I had people at my house every single day just to make sure I was okay. And I love that, and I was grateful for it, and it was amazing. Like, to have people be there for me, for my kids, it was awesome. But then it got to a point where I needed space. I needed a moment to go through the thoughts of my head and face reality. Because my reality was not what I had thought it was. And as much as I love everyone and people, and I love the people that were there for me, you got to go through it alone sometimes. You have to have some moments where you go through it alone, because that's life. Only you're going to know what you're dealing with. And there's only so much people can do for you that they can't. Like, you have to do for yourself, So I think genuinely, like, enforcing those boundaries, especially after a divorce, was extremely difficult for me. Whew, like, it was tough, because how are you going to tell people, can you not be there for me today? Like, be there for me maybe this weekend when I'm going to be alone again and I'm probably going to be spiraling. Like, you can be there for me then. But today, like, I want to be there for myself. Like, it was hard. It was a very difficult place to navigate. But I had to learn how to be clear and tell people truthfully what I was dealing with and how I really just wanted to deal with that alone that day. And some people took it offensive, and some people completely understood it. And the people who love you and respect you, I promise you, they won't look at you differently. If anything, it would want them to be there for you. It would push them to be there for you even more when you needed it. There was moments where I didn't know how to let people be there for me. So I tried to, I remember clearly there was days where I was just like, hey, I'm going to be alone today. Like, maybe I'm talking to somebody right now, but I remember so clearly there was a day where I was scared to take both of my kids grocery shopping. Like, I was afraid because I had never done that before. And maybe you're saying, wow, Steffany, like, seriously? Dude, I'm being completely 100% honest with you guys. Like, I had never done that before because one kid would stay home, with their dad and whatever. And it was just always like a bouncing back. And there was, and I remember that, like, people that were trying to be there for me, they were like, no, we can take one of the kids, or like, we could all go together and we can do this, like, together. And I was like, no, no, thank you. I want to take my kids by myself grocery shopping. And for anybody hearing this, they're probably like, dude, moms do this all the time. For me, it was a first time thing. And it was so pinnacle. It was such a pinnacle moment in my life because it was a fear of, like, really living life as a single mom. And it was like a reality that I had to face. Putting two kids in the car seat and, grabbing the cart and hoping that it was big enough to fit them, and then, like, them freaking out. So then I had to swing by the bakery so that they can get a free cookie, and then trying to open up bags. Like, it was chaotic and I was, struggling. But at the same time, I was like, okay, this is my reality right now. Like, I got to learn, this is what I got to deal with. And it was part of my process of going through this. It was part of my process of realizing that, okay, I'm going to sleep alone now. And, like, all these different things that started happening, they were part of my process to be confident right now in front of this camera and tell you, put your boundaries, make them clear, because you're only protecting your peace and nobody else is going to care about that more than you. And I'm grateful that I learned that. And I'm grateful that I learned that even through trials and even through things that I was dealing with, because it has made me confident. It has made me strong. And it has made me believe more than ever that I know I got this. And you do too. You just got to go through it and experience it and allow yourself to live in the reality that you have, but believe for more. You have the right to follow through on keeping your boundaries, because those people that are going to be there for you will learn how to be there for you with your boundaries. Still, that does exist, okay? And at first, it will extremely feel uncomfortable. It will feel foreign to have boundaries because it's not something that you were accustomed to, maybe, or it's not something that you were raised like me to have. It was always a free-for-all every time. So I just want to be very clear. Like, you have the right to follow through on protecting that and creating that space for yourself and for the life that you're building and for the version of you that you're becoming. The right people will adjust and the wrong ones will see their way out. And you got to be A-okay with that, because your growth should not be inconvenient for anybody. And if it is, let them see their way out. Your growth is priority in your life rather than being convenient for somebody else's life. You walk your walk. You do what you need to do to progress. And yes, you need people and you're going to be respectful. But it should not come at the expense of your own growth. Ever. That's something you protect and you hold very dear and very close to you. So let's put this all together. You have the right to say no and be crystal clear about it. You also have the right to say no and not have to create this entire monologue for others to understand. And you have the right to enforce your boundaries and protect them, because all of this is to protect your peace and not feel guilty about it. This isn't a one and done fix type of thing at all. I mean, anything I say on this podcast really isn't just a quick fix. Everything, especially today's episode, is all about maintaining and building and practicing these things. and making them a reality day to day. It's a muscle. You have to continue practicing. You have to put it into place. And it will feel uncomfortable at first. And it genuinely, like, you're going to feel guilty a lot of the times. But let the guilt remind you that you're breaking old patterns in your life. Let the guilt remind you that you're breaking things in your life that has been deep in there for not even just you, but even your parents' generation. Like, you're breaking that cycle over your life. And you're doing that so that whoever you lead, whoever follows you, whoever you raise, will not live a life of guilt, and will not live a life of people pleasing, and will not live a life of putting others' life before themselves. You're breaking cycles in your life so that you can be free from that guilt and walk into peace and walk into a freedom that honestly is foreign to many people pleasers. It's extremely foreign to us. But you want to break that, because the moment you start leading a team, the moment you start leading, individuals, you want to lead them to a place where they find freedom and they find peace and they find hope, but not that they are kissing your ass and only doing what they're told because you said so and because they're just trying to chase a paycheck. Because let me tell you something, you're not going to keep people like that in your life, because the person next door, if they pay them $1 or $2 extra, they're out. People stay because of the way they feel and the way that they're treated and what they're looking like at their mentor be, at their leader be. If they're looking at a leader that is all about money, 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 great. You're gonna attract those kinds of people to your office, to your firm, to your team. If you're a mentor, if you're a leader, if you're a sales rep, if you're, a business developer, whatever it is that you are in your team, or if you're the CEO, you're the boss, right? And you're leading a team, showing them the importance of protecting your peace, of building a family, of building stability, of building, consistency. If you teach that, you're teaching life skills, people. You're teaching things that are going to last through various storms, that will last through recessions, pandemics. Like, these are things that are like recession proof. Because you're teaching life skills, and people, I promise you, will value it. The right people will. Like I've said before, what I do, I say it all the time. This is bigger than us. In my firm, what we say, this is bigger than us. Because it is. Because the people who walk through here and who are a part of this team, I'm believing that it's not just for them, but the generations that come after them that are going to see success because of what they're doing here. So, very important to keep in mind. So, if you've been with me this entire time, please write in the comments, like, what's that small practical tool or thing you're going to do this week to protect your peace? Write it on the comments. Let me know. I would love to hear it. And if you want to ask for some advice, or maybe you say, Steffany, how do I get out of this? Write it in the comments. I'll be there to answer any day of the week. I love this. And I'll help you protect your peace and your clarity. And honestly, just keep pushing towards you guys having confidence in this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, the goal is not to be difficult, it's to be clear. I'll see you guys next week on the chair.